fine and sound is okay? Yes, can you hear me well?
Yes.
All right, good. So without delaying further, welcome to this webinar we have. Now, we normally used to say seminar, right? So this is the new trend, almost the same. So we at Smart Irtekaz welcome you all for this project management, which is actually part of your growth, professional and personal. So carrying on, just a quick introduction on Smart Irtekaz, our organization. Irtekaz is an Arabic word which means fulcrum. You know that the pulley that we have, or the one that we use in order to pull things. Now, without this pulley, and if you're directly using or pulling up something, will be difficult. Or you have lever where you actually use that, and fulcrum is used with the lever, right? So in case if you don't have lever, then again it will be difficult to pull up or move anything. So that's the fulcrum that we're talking about, which is actually the major support. All right. So we lead people to success by enlightening, by transferring the knowledge in the best way that we can. Again, why us? We have experience in the field for many years. We have experts who have been working in the industry for more than 15 years. And on average, actually, it's more than 10 years almost with all of our experts. So as simple as we do a limited job, but we do good job. All right. So that's what we have. And that's what our people who work with us say. Yeah. There's something someone was saying. Can you see my screen? Yes, there is someone say something. Okay, so I think we'll just carry on. All right, so virtual series, I think Hassan was already talking about virtual series that we have. So it's a combination of some webinars, online or virtual trainings, and some online coaching as well. All right, and then we have some upcoming sessions coming up, and those are Lean Six Sigma White Belt, which is also a free session. You should be joining that and avail this White Belt certificate, all right? That's only 2 hours. And then that's on 11th of July, and you can get details, you can contact me, you can contact Hassan. And we have this PMP training coming up, which is the complete PMP exam preparation session. This is for about 2 weeks, where you'll get to know more about project management, and that's your road to be PMP certified. And then, of course, we have some other sessions, and Hassan will forward you these presentation slides as well. Some other courses that we are going to have in the future. So anyone interested to boost up your career? You have contact information. You're already in touch with Hassan. You can contact us by WhatsApp. You have any questions regarding today's webinar for your career, for the future, and for any concerns, you can also send me a WhatsApp message or even call me, right? All right, so let's get into our project management topic, all right, which is the core that we are here for today. Now, talking about the project management certification for your growth. Do you understand that how a PMP certification can help you boost your career? Now, talking about this, what kind of benefits you can have? So normally what you talk about when you talk about project management is that investment versus benefits. So what are you going to invest in order to be PMP certified? And I'm not talking about money here, right? So that's basically your time, right? Because PMP exam preparation is not just going to be a 1 week training or 2 weeks training and you're ready for the exam. No, this is going to be a long-term preparation. It requires some commitment. So you need to be available for about, let's say, 3 months plan, where you need to work out every hour, every day, 2 hours. And that is when you're going to get the knowledge, you understand what the project management is, and even that will help you in implementation of the project management when you're going to run projects. So you get to know, you kind of like put the whole project management into yourself, all right, to your brain, to your mind, so that when on daily basis, you're moving around, you're going to office, you're even resting, you're feeling like managing a project, all right? So that's all the project manager can do to you for 3 months. You kind of like what we normally say is that your clothes become your project management, your food becomes your project management, right? So that's the PMP, the benefit. Now, first of all, it's towards the career, it's a path itself, right? So you can be an assistant, then you can be project manager, then you can be the PMO manager, you can be the PMO director, you can be the head of project department, you can be part of the portfolio, so you can be portfolio manager, right? portfolio director. All those things are part of the career which are actually within project management, right? So I think in some of you guys already have PMO in your organization or projects in your organizations. So you have seen the project managers and others. So this career is very enlightening and enriching in terms of the growth. And of course, the financial benefits come along with the growth of the project manager as well. That's part of your job, that's part of your incentives. So in some cases, when you do a project and you save your client like 2 million, maybe 20% is going to be benefit for you guys as bonus. So those are some financial benefits, all right? Non-tangible benefit is knowledge, and that's huge, all right? I call PMP certificate father of certification. So let's get into more detail of this. That's my introduction. That's, by the way, the PMI, Project Management Institute, that's in US. And PMP certificate is only coming from PMI, Project Management Institute. They have some other certificates. You'll get to see that in a few minutes. If anyone tells you that, hey, you know what, we'll get you PMP certified by ABC company or XYZ company, and normally they ask for the payment, of course, don't trust them. Your PMP certificate is only coming from Project Management Institute, that's in Pennsylvania in US. And of course, others are fake. So that you have to make sure. I've been conducting PMP courses for last, 9 years, 10 years. And you have my contact information there. I have my bachelor's in IT from New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology, that's in US. I work as director at Smart Irtekaz. And of course, I have some other jobs that I have worked on, some consultation projects, such as building PMO for Ministry of Water and Electricity, being an IT project manager at King Saud University, and PMO at KSU, and so forth. So let's talk about overall course objectives once you are going to become PMP certified. Now, you need to understand the project management, which is also our objective today. There are 10 knowledge areas and 5 process groups, and we will also cover them. You have these tools and techniques you should understand. You need to know the inputs and outputs of those processes and how you apply the project management towards in your career or in your job. And of course, the course will lead you towards exam preparation and then of course, becoming PMP certified. So there's some certificates by PMI, such as CAPM, which is Certified Associate in Project Management. Now, there are some requirements. If you want to be PMP certified, you must complete 35 hours of training, which is normally what we cover starting from next week. So that's not a bigger requirement, right? The main requirement is that if you have bachelor's degree, you should have 4,500 hours of project management experience, which is about 3.5 or somewhere close to 4 years. Now, some people, if they don't have core project management experience, but they worked in operations or at least in teams, this can also be counted towards project management experience. Okay, then you have PMP, which is, as I said, father of certifications based on the knowledge, right? And the value it brings in. So you have 200 questions and you have to answer them in 4 hours. So the golden rule that I have or I put up for my attendees is that you need to answer every question within a minute. So that's 1 question per minute. If you cannot do that, that means you're not ready for the exam. So that comes in within these 3 months of preparation, right? So that should make sense. That's why I say that it's a longer time that's required to prepare. Then of course you have PGMP, Program Management, which is again 1 step higher than PMP. It required 10 years of experience. Then you have Portfolio Management, which is again 1 step higher than the PGMP. So then some other certificates you have are Agile and Risk Management, Scheduling Management, and so forth, right? And Business Analysis, which is comparatively new. So when you talk about the value towards your career, once people will get to know you are PMP certified, for sure they will take notice. So you get an opportunity because you are PMP certified to work on projects, or a career can start once you become certified. See, some people, they want to become PMP certified because of the career they want to get in, or the new opportunities they want to get in, or the financial benefits they want to gain from it. And yes, all of them are there. For me, I'm telling you from my experience, I have experienced all of them, right? So moving on with this, let's talk about some fundamentals on project management. I want you to take note of questions you have right now. And then once we talk about the question answers, I will ask you, all right? So that we can do at that time. Now, before I go ahead and start, I want to actually have a poll, okay? So let me launch one of the poll with you guys. I know we haven't covered much, but yeah, let's see how much do you know. So I will launch the poll and you need to just answer this, right? It should be quick and easy. Just click what do you think is the right choice. So here I launch the poll. So you have a minute. Within a minute, you should answer that. I see people starting answering. Very good. Okay, good job. All right, so I'll end the poll now. Minute is over. All right, so we see some people answering. Actually, I have answered for all of them. Out of 10, we see one person saying monitoring and control, one saying execution, 4 saying closing, no one said initiating, so that means it is part of the project process group. I have 4 people saying preparing and 1 saying planning. So the right answer is, first of all, let's look at the question. It says, which one of the following is not process group, all right? So not. There are 5 process groups. And just to mention, the process groups are not phases of the project, all right? And we'll talk about that briefly later on. So the phase or the process group, which is not part of the project management, is preparing, all right? Preparing is not part. So that means that was your right choice. So we have 40% people who answered it correct. All right. You can see the results. Okay, so let's get back to our presentation, okay? So fundamentals, okay. Why we want to have project management? What are the benefits? Why you want to do it? Because it helps individuals and groups to meet the business objectives, to satisfy stakeholder expectations, be more predictable, increase chances of success, deliver the right product at the right time, resolve the problem and issues, respond to risk in timely manner, optimize the use of organization resources, identify, recover, and terminate failing projects, manage constraint and balance their influence on the project, manage change in a better way. So overall, when you look at all these benefits, all right, which looks at why are you going to do these project management, it's simply application of the knowledge that you have and the processes that you have in project management in order to complete your project successfully. So if you apply those processes and you go through them, not one by one, of course, and there's no specific sequence in most of them, but yes, you are knowledgeable enough to know what is in the project management, what you have to take care, and that will help you to complete your project successfully. So the knowledge areas in the project management, those knowledge areas mean the key elements, all right, or core areas which require your attention. There are 10 knowledge areas in project management. That's integration, scope, time, cost, quality, resources, then you have procurement, risk, and stakeholders. So these are 10 different knowledge areas, as we call them in project management, or the core areas which require your attention. So being a project manager, you will have risks on the project. You need to identify them, you need to assess them, then you have to take responses and make sure you control the risk, because maybe a risk which is a low risk today, it may become higher risk tomorrow, right? So you need to make sure you control the risk. Now, one of the things I will ask later on is what or how do you define risk itself, okay? Then of course, you being a project manager, you have to plan quality management. So you need to know that what tools are you going to do, all right? Are you going to run your fishbone? Are you going to use histograms? So what kind of quality tools are you going to use? Which approach are you going with? Are you going with the Lean Six Sigma approach? Are you going with Kaizen methodology? Are you going with the TQM? So that's your quality. You need to plan quality. You need to execute. That means quality assurance, or now we call it manage quality. And then you have to control quality. Before you submit your end result, a product that you make, to your customer or client, you make sure that quality control is done. You inspect that. Once you pass the quality control, that is when you can go to the stakeholder or your client and say that we are ready to deliver your product. So it's good quality, it's within the scope, and now here it is. Give the sign off and let's close the project successfully. When you talk about scope, what's the definition of scope? How do we understand scope? All these terminologies, all right, will be part of the project management, and it really enrich you with the knowledge, with information. Your vocabulary will be very high, specifically when it comes to portfolio, program, and project management. And imagine that you are in one of the meetings. It could be a status meeting, it could be a board meeting, and then you use the words such as baseline, portfolio, when you're talking about stakeholder engagement, when you're talking about the quality assurance, people will understand, okay, this guy knows something about project management. He's using the same terminology, right? You use the word WBS, right, which is work breakdown structure, and so forth. All right, so this slide actually gives you an idea about the structure of the organization. So in your organization, which is actually portfolio, under your organization, and I can use an example of, let's say, Royal Commission, right? Yambo or Jubail or maybe a ministry in Riyadh. So under that Royal Commission, you may have many projects, all right? That could be as simple to complete something, all right? Maybe let's say have a government-based well, all right? Or sometimes we have on the beach, these water tanks. So that could be a simple project. Or under the portfolio, you may have programs. We'll talk about what programs are later on. But just to give an idea, program is a combination of 2 or more related projects so that you can gain benefit. So you may have under the program projects or sub-programs. And then of course, under the sub-programs, you have projects. All right, or you may have sub-portfolio. So when I say that, Royal Commission here in Jubail, it's sub-portfolios. Under Royal Commission, you have sub-portfolio of electrical work. Then you have construction work. Then you have IT projects. Then you have governance projects. So that's how you can have sub-portfolios because it's huge, right? And then under those sub-portfolio, you have projects or you have programs. Then again, under programs, you can have projects and sub-projects or sub-programs and projects. So how do you define what kind of portfolio you should have in your organization? It depends on the scope of your organization. Depends on what about the budget that you have. How many projects are you running, right? And how many of them are connected together? So portfolio basically is a combination of projects and programs which are not related, right? And also it has some operational work. Of course, you have to do operational work in programs as well, and sometimes in projects also. So that leads us to understand what's a program or project and what's operational work. So projects are something which you start at a specific time and you end at a specific time, right? And it's supposed to give you a unique result. Whereas operations, they are repetitive, you do them again and again, and they do not bring you a unique result, such as IT support in your organization, right? Or normally in maintenance at your home, you call the maintenance team, they come and they change your light, or they maintain something, they fix something. That's actually a repetitive task for them. They do it again and again. This is an operational work, all right? That's not a project. Whereas when you talk about project, building a Kingdom Tower is a project, right? So you make this, it has a start, it has an end, and you get a unique result or a unique product at the end. What's an example of a product and a project? So a product is, for example, let's say building a car or making a mobile. So the first one that you make, that's a project, that's an end result, that's a unique result. And once you start the production, it becomes operation, right? And when you talk about a project, so project is to start or to build a product. And also some projects do not have a product as an outcome, such as international conference on, for example, diabetes or on project management, right? So that event where people are coming from all over the world and it's huge, which require preparation for many weeks or maybe months, that's actually a project. It doesn't have a unique product, but it does have a unique result at the end, okay? So moving on with this, just to have an idea about how the overall organization link with your projects and portfolio and operations. So for the organization, you will have vision, right? So vision is basically, well, long-term, it's supposed to be 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 25 years. Based on the vision of the organization, your organization will build a strategy. And based on that strategy, you will go and populate your portfolio. So shall we build houses as well, or shall we make applications? Now, this depends on your organization vision. And then based on the strategy, you will undertake these projects. Now, your vision may change, which happens, rarely happens, all right? But that can happen. And then based on your vision change, your strategy may change. And because of your strategy may change, you may drop some projects that are actually still in progress. So you're maybe 20% complete or maybe 30% complete, but then you said that, hey, you know what, no more of that project because this is not part of our strategy anymore. Okay. So overall, the idea is that your strategy will feed into portfolio, and then based on the portfolio, you will start having projects and programs. And then based on that also, you'll have some operational work. And then of course, all of them, they are linking with each other, feedback, and then you start again and move on. Once you go through this, you realize that where the value lies. Some organizations are core financial, right? So what the benefit they get from these projects or these operations is the money, all right, is the finance. But some organizations, such as non-profitable or government organizations, they do it for the sake of people. They do it for the sake of organization or for the city or for the culture, right? So those do not have tangible benefits such as money, but they do get some brand name, right? Or comfortability of people and so forth, community. So just to give you an idea about project management and how rich is that in terms of the terminology and in terms of the objectives and elements. So you understand that you have projects, and then of course a bigger umbrella is program, because it's a combination of 2 or more related projects. And the bigger umbrella is your portfolio, right? Which is overall, let's say company-wide. Again, portfolio can be huge, just like as I told you about the Royal Commission, which may have multiple sub-portfolios. Or it's just a simple portfolio, a small organization with 2 projects, 1 program, and that's it. Okay, for all of them, some elements which are linked together are scope, which is what is the boundary of the project? What is the boundary of the program? What's the boundary of your portfolio? You should not put any resources which are outside the boundary of the project or program or portfolio. You should not spend any money on anything outside that scope. So, but your scope is limited with the project. So you need to make sure everything within the project is there, and you complete that and you move on. And of course, for the program, it's a larger scope. You look at the benefits that you're getting, and portfolio is of course huge, which is based on strategic goals, right? So just like this one, your change is again very limited to the project. For program, it gets bigger. For portfolio, it's huge. And you make the more strategic decisions or changes that you agree on. The higher the change is, the more impact it has, the higher authority is supposed to authorize the change. So a change to a portfolio, just a project manager cannot approve that change. For that, it has to be board of members, all right? So just like that one, you have planning, management, success of the project and program and portfolio, and you have monitoring, of course, right? It requires more efforts to, of course, monitor your portfolio than you are monitoring your project. By the way, you need to understand the scale. So maybe in one organization, a project is only, it could be only 10 days long project with only 20 some activities. Or maybe it's a huge project with maybe 3,000 some activities. Whereas a portfolio, it could be a very small, as I said, with a one project of 2 days or 3 days, and then, a couple of programs. So maybe in one organization, a project budget is even higher than a portfolio of a different company. So this is how you can think of the scale of different organizations, right? All right, so moving on with this. A proper definition of project. So project is a temporary endeavor which we undertake to produce a unique result or product or services. So project is temporary. That means it will end one day, all right? And there are multiple reasons how it can end. A project objectives have been achieved, so it's a successful project, we close, very good. Or project is terminated because objectives cannot be met, or because of some legal issues. Or there is no need of the project, your vision changed, strategy changed, or human, physical, or financial resources are no longer available, right? That could happen. Just like what happened recently, okay? Because of the pandemic, we have these issues. And of course, the projects are there because you want to have some change in your organization, in the culture, in the environment, and around. And of course, it's supposed to bring in the value. So value that's supposed to be quantifiable, that can be tangible, and that can be non-tangible, right? Or maybe both. So when you talk about the change, The change is where you are today, and then you do some projects. It could be one project, could be multiple projects to reach to the future state, right? Which is aligned with your strategy of the organization. You put your resources, you spend some money, you take some risk, all this in order to get to a future state, which is supposed to bring more value, right? So let's do a quick poll. Okay, let's see, we're all together here. I want to go ahead with the second poll, right? So I want you to tell me how many processes are there in project management. So I launched the poll, and let's have 1 minute to answer this. All right, I can see some good results. Important is that you participate, right? So that's what we want to see. Maybe it's a wrong guess because we haven't covered it yet, but still it's good. All right, so you have 5 seconds to go. All right, so let's end the poll. We have few answers here. I'll share the results with you. So we have 2 people saying it's 39 processes, 4 people saying 49, and 1 saying 29, and 1 saying 59. So the correct answer is 49, right? So there are 49 processes in project management. Normally, part of the exam preparation is you have to go through all the 49 processes to know exactly what they are. And I'll give you an example. So stop this sharing and get back to our understanding. So let's say you have one knowledge area, it's called risk management, right? And then in risk management, you have some processes and you need to know what each one of them is doing. And there is a purpose for each one. So first you need to prepare a plan on how the risk management processes or activities will be taken care of. What are your ground rules? What are the rules and regulations, right? What are your company policies? So that is actually part of prepare a project management plan. Once you have that plan, then you get into identifying the risks. What are the risks in the project? Once you identify those risks, then you do a qualitative analysis to understand which risk is high, low, medium. And then you do further more detailed quantitative analysis, which is based on the financial value, the percentage, and so forth. It's more advanced. So you do the quantitative analysis so you can take a right decision to understand where the benefits are coming from and how much. And then you move on to prepare the risk response. So all that is happening part of your planning. Now, once you have the risk response, you know that what are the workaround, and you know what is the solution, what are the root causes, and so forth. End result of these processes is actually a document called a risk register, okay, which you normally use to report to management. You use this throughout the project to make sure if any risk happen, what is the strategy, what we're supposed to do, what's an action we will take. And then you have control risk, which is part of monitoring and control process group. So that's how your processes of risk management happen. Now, I believe that within, let's say what, 3-4 minutes, 5 minutes, with a quick introduction, you can visualize or understand that what's happening in each process. So just like that one, you should know all the 49 processes. I highly recommend people to focus on names. Once you know the name, you know what is this process doing. For example, plan procurement. So that'll give you an idea that this is about procurement and it's about planning. Or control procurement. So this is about procurement and control, or control quality. So this is how, pay attention to the name, not only just to the processes, but also pay attention to the name of the techniques or the terminology that you can go through, and you'll have an idea. Just like I told you, there's a risk register, right? But it has information about the risk, detail about the risk. There's another document called stakeholder register. So does that click that what could be a stakeholder register? Well, a list or details of stakeholders. People who can positively impact the project, positively or negatively impact the project, or can be impacted by the project or stakeholders, right? So that include the project manager, team members, board members, PMO members, your sponsor, and so forth. All these guys are your stakeholders. All right, so let's carry on with our slides. Furthermore, you understand the current state, you do some projects, and then you move on to the future state. Okay, so here we talk about the processes in project management. You have 49 processes, all right? You can see that in red color there. And of course, you have these 5 process groups, which is initiation, then you have planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. So think about, you're going to start a project, and you can think about, let's say if you're going to make a mobile, right? So for that one, you have to initiate, you have to start somewhere, you have to do the proper planning, you have to execute, and then you have to monitor and control all the activities. Imagine that you invite someone for a meeting and the meeting is taking forever. That cannot happen, right? You have to end the meeting some point. You have to control. Because sometimes people, they join in the meeting and instead of talking about the mobile development, they were talking about the soccer match that happened yesterday. So you need to make sure you monitor and you control in a proper way. And then you close the project, right? So these are the 5 process groups. They are not phases of the project, right? Earlier, in the beginning of the project management, they used to call them phases, but later on from 3rd edition onward, they call them process groups because phases could be different. So let's look at the phases of the project. So phases could be a combination of multiple activities, and then combination of those phases are going to give you your end result. Now, an example of a phase, let's say if you're going to make, and all of you guys are familiar with the Kingdom Tower, I believe, right? So if you need to make Kingdom Tower, what phases we can have? Such as we can have design, then we can have excavation done, then we can have, excavation is the digging, right? All the digging. And then we're talking about the gray structure of the building. Then we can have exterior done, then we can have interior done for the project. So all these are 5 phases. And then again, different project managers may put up for the phases in different way. For example, maybe a different project manager want to put up as exterior work done, and then electrical work, mechanical work, and then interior work, and so forth. So that could be a different approach. And both approaches can be fine as long as you cover 100% of the scope that you agree with your client. That's the rule, right? So one project can have multiple WBS or different type of phases as long as you cover 100% of the customer requirement. Okay, so moving on with this. That's an image, how you represent your process groups. And then you have these 5 process groups as we talk about. Initiating is where you initiate, and of course, planning, execution, monitoring, control, and closing. You apply these process groups on each phase. Now, remember, you have 49 processes, right? For example, you have 2 processes in initiation, and you have about 24 in planning, but you don't have to apply all the 49 processes on every phase. For example, in one of the phase, you don't have to procure anything. So there are 3 processes in procurement. That means you don't have to apply all the 3. Or like in one of my project earlier, it was for one of the government organizations. When we asked them about the budget, they said, hey, don't worry, right? It's an open budget project, go ahead, enjoy. So that means we didn't do any cost estimation, we didn't do any cost control. So no cost process we apply there. All right. So that's where some of the processes can be taken care by your stakeholders. Some of them you didn't apply because it doesn't have any constraint. So you don't have to apply all the 49 processes. You apply one which are required, all right, or which are necessary. So moving on with this, you will see that you have the image that I'm sharing is actually a snapshot from the PM book. PM book is Project Management Body of Knowledge or Book of Knowledge. That's an official book by PMI, right? So this book, which is about like 600 some pages, this has the information about all these 49 processes and technical detail of all those processes and basics of project management. So this page that I'm sharing is actually the key page which explains or actually introduces all the 49 processes. You don't have to remember all of them. Once you go through the training and you go through each one of the process, you'll understand all of them. And once you know the flow, how it's happening, it is easy for you to make sense, all right? And by the way, you can remember all those by understanding them, not by remembering them, all right? So moving on with this, understanding the process groups versus the phases. So imagine that you have feasibility, and let's talk about the Kingdom Tower again. So you apply all these 5 process groups on feasibility. You get some output, which is your feasibility study, and you get your stakeholder to sign on that. It's approved, you move on to planning. You apply all these 5 process groups, again, whatever the processes required on planning. Because see, you have to initiate the planning at some point. You have to plan on how to do the planning. You have to execute to make the plan. and you have to monitor and control all the activities there, right? So that's how all of these things work out. Excavation, structure, exterior, interior. Okay, then you have 10 knowledge areas. And before I continue, let's do a quick poll, all right? So let's go ahead and next poll. I want you to answer on this. Okay, so this is a fun one. So let me launch this, right? Go ahead, please answer this. All right, so let's end the poll here. Let's share the results. Okay, so we have some variation there, right? So the risk is, it's an uncertain event, all right? That's an official definition of the risk. Okay, so, and of course, once you carry on with the proper knowledge and understanding, you will get to know these definitions as well. And by the way, what happened is you don't have to remember those definitions. In fact, you just go through the knowledge, you go to the training, and you understand them well, right? This is how it happens. Over time, once you go through and you revise them and you understand the processes, these actually things get stick in your brain, right? So you don't have to actually force yourself to remember them. It become part of your unconscious understanding. All right, so talking about the knowledge areas, you have 10 knowledge areas. Integration management, which is actually to integrate all the processes together, right? Integrate the project work together. When you talk about in the project management, this is what the project manager should do. Integrate all the project work together, right? Integrate all the people together, stakeholders and the team members. And of course, your project scope, this is again the boundary of the project. You don't want to do anything extra or anything less. So this is basically focus on to do what is necessary. Don't do more, don't do less. Schedule management is about the time. You agree with the stakeholder to deliver something today, you must deliver today, all right? If you delay, that means there could be some maybe penalties or consequences. And the same goes with the cost. So you agree with 2 million, complete the project within 2 million. Otherwise, you may have to pay from your pocket, depending on type of agreement you have with your stakeholders. All right, and then you have your resource management. So look at what resources you have, from where you acquire them, then you need to build them, you need to manage them, right, and so forth. And resources doesn't only mean human resource. It also means equipment, maybe your vehicles and so forth. All right, then you have your communication. So you need to plan communication, what to communicate, to who you need to communicate, and how you will communicate, what medium are you going to use, how many times you're going to use, and then towards the end of the project, you need to store the information or you have to dispose the information, the documents, all right? And then you have to manage the risk. Of course, risk process we already gone through. You have your procurement management. So you have to manage, make sure that whatever you need to bring from outside, you're using the procurement processes. So you plan procurement, you have to conduct it, and you have to control. And of course, one of the very difficult tasks for the project manager, it's very challenging to control the procurement, right? Third-party suppliers. And of course, you have the stakeholder management. So you have to manage all your stakeholders. So first you have to identify them. You have to make sure that where they are, who they are, what kind of influence they have in the project, what they're interested in the project. And then of course you have to engage them and then control them over time. So that's your stakeholder engagement. And of course, stakeholders are the one who are going to give you sign off towards the end of the project. Okay, so I want to launch one poll here again. Let's look at how well you do. Okay, so let's look at the other one. Please go ahead and answer. Let's have 1 minute. Okay, 5 seconds to go. All right. Well, no one answered make customer sad, right? That's a good thing. All right. So the quality is either fulfilling customer requirements or fulfilling customer expectations. Of course, it's not fulfilling customer demands, right? Demands can be anything. Demand can be illogical as well, right? So that's not the right answer. Now let's look at what is the comparison between requirements and expectations. Anyone want to answer? So maybe raise your hand. Let's unmute you. Answer us. What is the difference between requirement and expectations? I don't know if someone is raising the hand. I don't see the raise hand. Okay, we see Amal. She wants to answer. Okay, so Amal, I will unmute you. You can answer this.
Okay, I can. You can hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
So requirements, those needs that they need, and they cannot like sign the fulfillment unless it's met. Expectation, maybe it would be something but not required, something better than what they want to submit. Expectation, they think it's not measurable, so it's not listed anywhere, but requirement should be met and written somewhere or documented. This is what I understand about the difference.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Amal. So we'll explain that. Yeah, it's a good job, and I appreciate for sharing your feedback. So yes, requirements are something which are tangible, all right? So requirements are tangible, they are written, they are agreed upon, all right? So for example, you may have a requirement to submit a report or a weekly report today, Thursday by 2 p.m. All right, so that's a requirement. If you don't submit by 2 p.m., you may face some consequences, all right? Maybe some penalties or maybe a deduction in salary or whatever, right? So you did not fulfill a requirement. It was submitting a report by 2 p.m. But your boss's expectation or stakeholders' expectation could be that, hey, you know what, submit by 10 a.m. in the morning. So about 4 hours before that. So that is an expectation, right? Most likely it's not written anywhere. Okay, again, you may calculate that. It might be measurable, but yes, it's not tangible. But then again, you have to manage expectations, all right? And that's the job of the project manager. So how you have to manage this? Through proper and proactive communication. So such as you have to inform your boss that, or your stakeholder that, yes, we will submit it by 2 p.m. and I will try earlier, but maybe it's not feasible, or maybe it's only 20% chance that I will submit by 10. So you need to build expectations of your stakeholders, manage their expectations. And if expectations are not going to be fulfilled, make sure you properly communicate in the right time, in the right way, right? Okay, so that's very good. Thank you, Amal. It's very close to what you said and almost accurate. Okay, so these are the 10 knowledge areas you have in project management, all right? Or you can think of those as 10 core areas which require your efforts and require your attention. So moving ahead with this, overall, I think what I wanted to give you today is all of the basic information of project management, give you a guideline on maybe a route towards preparing for your project management exam preparation. Normally we have an agenda, all right? And this is actually a predefined 3 months agenda. I'll ask Hassan to share it with you, right? Either by email or WhatsApp or whatever the communication we have. So you can have an idea that how it will take 3 months to prepare for the exam. See, I believe that in order to pass the exam, you must take the exam. And once you're going to go take exam, better be prepared. I have, by the way, a story of one of my candidate. Alhamdulillah, I have many people who have passed PMP. To be honest, I lose the count. But I have this one guy, and after the training, it was just after 2 or 3 weeks, he gave me a call and it's like, I have a news. I was like, okay, yes. He said, I failed the PMP exam. And this is after the training, just within 2 or 3 weeks, all right? By the way, this one guy has read the PM book before or some of the other books before. He was doing preparation by himself. So I said, what do you mean you failed the exam? normally I have my criteria, right? So I ask people to do the mock exams and so forth and be in touch with me, communicate with me, what's your score, where you are. And then he says, well, you know, I wanted to test the exam. And to be honest, you know, it's a funny story that I normally tell to people, like, you don't test the exam, you don't test the test, right? So you need to prepare full, you need to prepare good, you need to prepare well, and go and take the exam so you pass the first time. Okay. And then, you know, just after 1 week, he gave me a call again, and then he said, okay, I passed my PMP exam. So this is a funny story normally, all right? And it motivates people in both ways. One, to take the exam, and also when you take the exam, you need to pass the first time, so better be prepared, all right? We also have a good news. We have one of our attendees, he just became PMP certified in this month, all right? I think maybe we can also share some testimony with you guys, that also to motivate you, all right? PMP exam, yes, it's a lot of knowledge. That's why I call it father of certifications, but it also brings a lot of value, all right? Once you taste it, you would recommend that to others as well. Normally, I recommend people 3 certifications, or the way that I recommend is you should take 3 courses every year, right? One should be a soft skill, such as time management, anger management, leadership management. This doesn't have a certification, right? It's for your knowledge, for your growth, all right? This is you. Then you need to take one for your technical area. For example, if you are in IT, maybe you want to become Cisco certified or something like that. If you are in facility management, take the facility management certification. So that's your facility, that's your technical knowledge, all right? One training which brings a certificate to you in technical knowledge. Then you should take one in management. This is the PMP, this is your Lean Six Sigma, this can be your ITIL foundation. And these 3 actually I recommend, because PMP covers your project management. ITIL, the name is Information Technology Infrastructure Library, but it doesn't apply only for IT people. It applies for all those who are in operations, because it has processes like change management, your configuration management, right? Your asset management, incident management. So those are the processes in ITIL, which covers how to manage your operations in a better way. And of course, Lean Six Sigma is a problem-solving methodology. It applies in projects and it applies on your operations. So that's where I recommend people these 3 major